Is that the guy live? It's adorable.
So it's just you and me for a change today, pal.
Yeah, it's actually a bit different, but you're quite lucky. It's been a while since we've just caught up in the studio by ourselves.
Yeah. Sorry, you're having a problem with your sound there.
Rookie Air, sorry about that.
Comair's back in the air.
Yeah, can you believe it?
Yep.
What a stressful week for all involved.
Yep.
Hey?
Yeah. Well, we know all about it.
Yeah, we've been there, done that, seen the movie, got the t-shirts.
Yeah, it's not a nice experience.
Not at all. Not by a long shot.
Talking about it before the show, SA Express, we've been grounded a few times.
Yeah.
And I still remember the one of the first times we were grounded. I'm not sure if you remember the year that was in.
2018? Yeah, it would have been 2018.
Yeah, about 2018. Okay.
Yeah.
I sort of got a random message from work. And then, of course, I saw something on the news. And then your mindset changes totally. It becomes, okay, what can I do to help the situation now? And that's the problem. There's nothing you can do. The quality and a safety SMS issue. So the deja vu.
Yeah, no, look, it's deja vu is the word for it, man. We were there. We saw it. It was just so incredibly overwhelming watching this whole story with Comair unravel this week, because it was like, man, we have seen this. It was like living it all over again to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's a horrendous situation for them, and I suppose we're going to talk about it today because that's the main thing.
Yeah,
I did a bit of research before the show to try and gauge the feeling in South Africa, around the world, about the whole Comair grounding. What do you think about it? What do people locally here think about it, and overseas? And it was a bit split. A lot of people, particularly the non-locals, saying that is it not justified because they had a couple of issues? And then local guys saying, no, this is redonkulous. So
yeah,
look, it's I wonder what side of the fence everyone sits on. Maybe shoot us a message and let us know. They're back flying today, which is important. They were grounded for 24 hours, the usual story.
Yeah,
it's normally on a weekend, Ryan.
Yeah, how ridiculous is that? I mean, we saw that, and it was like, but that always happens. It's always on a weekend, Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and on an important weekend. This last weekend was the cycle racing down in Cape Town. This weekend coming up is a long weekend in South Africa. So it was a pivotal time, and that always seems to be the tactic used when trying to.
Is it a tactic?
I don't know. Why on a Saturday afternoon? I don't know.
Look,
which is obviously the reason why when that happened, there was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction from most of us to what was the motive behind this.
Did the knee-jerk reaction only come when pictures of the Spurries 340 was being rolled out onto the apron?
Well,
it certainly did with me.
Yeah, I thought
straight away. I thought,
there's skullduggery
going on. Yeah, SAA going to get all these passengers.
Yeah,
and you'll be forgiven for,
Yeah, but as it turns out, in the end, I think it was actually Comair who contacted SA and said, "Listen, you actually got a big enough airplane to cater for all the passengers. We need to move out of Cape Town." So it was them trying to make the plan. So look, it's that has come out afterwards. But it's not surprising that we all had that reaction, given what's happened over the past couple of years.
Yeah. Emotions are tied to it. So if you're overseas and you're not 100% sure what you're talking about, one of our big airlines here in South Africa,
the Comair, second oldest airline,
the second oldest, and which also accounts for 40% of the seats available
in the South African domestic market.
In the domestic market, they were grounded for initially 24 hours, and that revoked their AOC. And yeah, that then became indefinite because 24 hours later they still weren't in the air. And then the stress starts to kick in, because then you start asking the questions, are they ever gonna operate again? And I must say, when I saw the news this morning that they were, it was a relief, one thing, but I just had a real sense of, I hope this is not the last time.
Yeah, no, look, seeing this morning the news that they had been, granted permission to fly again, for me personally was a sigh of relief as well. Mainly because of my friends that work and fly for the airline. My when this all started unraveling on Saturday, it's like my heart went out to all the pilots and the crew and the ground staff and everyone involved, because we know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Added to that, after everything that they've just been through over the last couple of years, it's funny enough, with us at SACS, we kind of had it in a reverse order. We got hit with the groundings first, and then COVID, and then closed. These guys were fine up until COVID, and now all this is happening.
And they've got through so much. I mean,
yeah. But you have to kind of like wonder to yourself at some point, how much more can one take? So
Dale Williams says, I think the lack of consistency from the regulator does make us all naturally cynical when stuff like this happens. Yeah, well, that's exactly it.
Of course, it's.
But I assumed that most people will be, really backing Comair on this one. And then when I, put my feelers out, because I was, I mean, and we would back Comair's training. They are, we know how good their training is. We know that their aircraft, look, the hot sections of the aircraft, of those engines, were apparently the ones that failed on the those engine failures.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, how does that happen? I mean, even I spoke to some of the employees, they are asking the question too, how does that actually happen?
Look, it's pure fluke. I mean, let's be honest. We are obviously good friends with a lot of pilots that come in, but we can also attest, the two of us, to the value and the quality of training that those pilots receive. So you can be rest assured, when you're in a Comair airplane and something like that happens, and the case has been proven, and two engines have failed, but the airplanes were landed safely, it was almost treated as a non-event because of the quality and the caliber of the pilots that were in the flight deck, and they were capable and competent to handle the situation.
But in this era now, like we know already, when there's cell phones in the back of that aircraft, every little thing is going to be recorded. We saw it. They had an issue with the landing gear that wouldn't retract.
Another non-event.
A non-event. I mean, I had that on a CRJ out of East London. I don't know how many years. That was 10 years ago. No one knew about it. Exactly. We actually continued to Joburg and landed safely. It was no issue.
Yeah, for anyone that's wondering, that's part of the general public, why that would be an issue is it would mainly affect your fuel burn.
Yeah.
If your wheels can't come up. So you would have to plan for that. But that's why they would obviously turn back and land back at the point of departure. But non-event really, and well handled by a competent crew. Like you're saying, Brian, and I think that's what you were alluding to, was so much of this has been blown out of proportion by social media, and I think irresponsible media reporters in general. Fake news 24 and all that cuck.
Tell us what you really think. Yeah, but as I say, I think for me, I think a lot of the anger came in when you saw that 340, and you actually mentioned it was a Comair that organized that 340 to.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly,
I mean,
so
obviously,
maybe someone can let us know.
It would be nice to get more background info on that, but
obviously, then the news stories pop up. SAA this week announced that it was adding capacity following the Comair grounding, including deploying larger aircraft on routes that have been most impacted, including Durban and Cape Town. And SAA said it's not bumping fares, and it would bumping up fares. It will continue to add capacity until Comair's issues are resolved, which they were this morning. I checked last night for a ticket today on SAA, 4,112 Rand from OR to Cape Town.
That's ridiculous.
I think fares are also on the topic of discussion.
It's a hot list. I know the Competitions Commission have been hard at it, trying to warn all the other airlines. So, the SAFairs, Semairs, everyone else around Airlink, trying not to exploit the situation. And this is not a reason for you to exploit the airfare situation. I'll be honest with you, the airfare side is one thing. My initial reaction to this whole thing when Comair was grounded was, wasn't it funny and coincidental that just last week the Air Services Licensing Council was reappointed
back in the game? Yeah.
So I thought,
well, this is where it all started to come together.
Exactly. But anyway,
look,
it's out for the jury.
I'm still sitting on the fence a little bit, yeah. But the aviation experts at NUMSA as well, they demand the resignation of the Comair CEO for poor management.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's always part of it.
So there was a level 1, 3 level 1 findings and 1 level 2 finding. I think a level 2 findings directly to do with safety, hey?
Yeah.
Keegan actually says, aviation, I've just seen on the news that it's safety related. So Look,
how much of that, and I'm going to be, again, just cynical about this, but safety related in terms of paperwork? Is it not just a,
well, this is it.
Dotting the T's, crossing the I's kind of thing?
A safety management system, can that stop a hot section failure of an engine?
Not at all.
No. So I suppose it's the general public that need the assurance. And look, let's face it, Sean Mendes, who's very well respected in the aviation community in Africa, I saw he posted something to say, African aviation at the moment, their average safety is above the global standard.
Of course.
Which is, so, that's what the guys from overseas are mainly saying. Is the regulator not erring on the side of safety? How can you attack them on that? So the sort of overseas contingent, talking about that more, whereas us locals here in South Africa, we're falling on the conspiracy theory side. Look, you and I are always going to fall naturally on the conspiracy theory side. We were grounded. We spoke about the first time. That was 2018, all right? Then
there was another period in 2019, somewhere around
there's
there.
A couple of ways to get grounded, obviously. AXA is quite a common one because you haven't paid your AXA bill.
Yes, so which happened at Mango quite a lot.
It happened at Mango, so that's one way to stop flying.
Yeah.
That obviously should be resolved once the bill gets paid and off you go. The other one is to do with your AOC.
Look, you can't blame us as South African aviators for being cynical because of that. If given what we've seen as an industry over the last 4 or 5 years, nothing almost surprises us anymore. Because there's corruption, there's all sorts of things involved. So, like you said, we will naturally be cynical and default to that narrative.
Okay, so let's ask another question. Do Comair have the depth of resources? What about the reputational loss?
I mean, that's a whole nother issue on its own.
It's massive. So
I can attest to
this
as well.
This that they're flying today, a huge amount of damage has been made to the brand, reputation. Everything has been hit really hard, and they need to get passenger numbers in order to have a viable company to continue to work. I mean, it's just inevitable. So other than passengers that were left behind, that they were obviously flying today, I mean, how many ticket sales would have actually happened today on a Comair aircraft?
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, given the fact that over the last 5 days, passengers have been, very badly affected. Tickets have been cancelled. Have they received refunds? Who knows? But now all of a sudden, at 6 o'clock in the morning, you wake up, you open the news, you say, okay, cool, I can fly again. But on that article, it's like, please do not go to the airport unless your ticket is confirmed, because now they're going to open up in a phased approach. So
before you go too far, so don't lose your chain of thought before you go too far. Dale says, I guess the only way to guarantee 100% safety factor is just to leave the area in the hangar and we all just sit surrounded by pillows in our lounge at home. Well, that's 100% true. I remember my old man saying that to me, when I was doing my PPL and the weather, it was a bit windy, the weather wasn't so good. And he said, well, listen, I mean, if you're going to wait for the weather to be perfect, you're never going to go fly.
Yeah.
And there's always an element of risk. And in aviation, we manage that risk. And
that's
what they say? Threat multiplied by vulnerability is risk.
Exactly.
And those issues that they had, sure, they sound bad. I think to a non-aviator, they probably sound rather horrendous. And but to an actual aviator, when they did the emergency call, landed back at OR, grounding, non-grounding. Yep.
I'll be honest, as an aviator, I mean, hearing about those two events, it was like, okay, cool. Engine failure was contained, the guys landed safely. Cool. You think nothing of it.
Yeah.
This whole thing was exacerbated by media, bad reporting, overinflated stories. It was made bigger by sensationalists, and that's why this whole thing's blown out of proportion.
Yep.
But getting back to the reputational damage, I mean, let's be pragmatic about this whole thing, Bryan. That's it as well. People are referring to this whole comic grounding as British Airways.
Yeah,
are being
I don't
grounded.
think British Airways are overly charmed about this.
I can't imagine that's the case. I mean, British Airways are grounded. British Airways, like, that's being said a lot by the general public.
Yeah.
And, obviously we know British Airways as being Comair, Kalula, etc., etc. But I know from the charter industry, there's a lot of international travels.
Has this affected the charter industry?
Quite a bit.
Obviously in a positive way.
Well, yeah, there's been the positive spin in as much as, well, listen, my British Airways flight to Livingston's been cancelled. Can you accommodate? So charters are happening left, right, and centre, which is great. No one can complain because that's what we wanted. It's not going to stop people from traveling and getting into the country. The concern is, people are, looking at things from overseas and, well, if it means I must take a private charter now, can I afford that? There's that 50-50 as to whether the whole trip will get cancelled, even if a charter was a part of that trip.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of negative spin on that. And then, I mean, added to that, when Comair now reinstates their flights, the charters that were booked because of the panic now want to get cancelled. so it creates a whole cycle of consequences, which are difficult to manage in a sense.
Well, anyone that was looking at traveling, I mean, including myself, I wanted to get my mom up to Johannesburg, which she did today on a Safair flight. But when I heard the news over the weekend, I quickly went off and I bought a ticket straight away because I knew that ticket prices were gonna shoot through the roof.
So did you manage to nip that in the bud?
I did.
Did you catch it in time?
I did. It wasn't ridiculously expensive. A return on FlySafair with luggage, and that was 3,300 Rand or something like that. So, maybe a little bit more than I've paid before, but there's certainly no more to raise any alarms.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you read the news thereafter in the past few days, you've got a lot of people moaning about the fact that the ticket prices have shot up.
Yeah.
Kirby Gordon addressed that quite nicely in a post I saw of his on LinkedIn, which I suppose we'll talk about a bit now. But there's all this happening whilst the war in Ukraine is going on, and fuel prices have shot up. So there's the added extra fuel burden, and there's 40% less capacity of seats available to fly around in South Africa. The tickets are going to go up.
No, of course they are. I mean, how can you expect airlines to absorb the burden of a rising oil price and not raise their fares? It's only natural that it happens. But it's just unfair. At the same time, Comair closes and the Competition Commission is trying to say to the airlines, be careful about your prices. We're watching you.
Yeah.
But I was doing some thinking about it last night. I mean, let's assume you've got passengers on a Durban or an East London flight, which in essence is a relatively short distance as opposed to PE or Cape Town or George. And now you would rather consider driving versus flying. Let me tell you,
not so straightforward.
I did that drive just 2 weeks ago. And after having driven down to Durban or Margate and back, I would still rather fly.
Yeah.
That trip took it out of me.
Yep.
The fuel price, the toll fees, the traffic on the roads, the stress of traveling with young kids.
Yeah.
I think
That's
even
heavy.
if the ticket prices do go up, I'll still fly next time. 100%.
Marcel Smith says, yeah, afternoon, gents. I just had to book a flight to Cape Town, cost over 6,000 Rand return. So there you go. They've shot up. But should we talk about what Kirby Gordon said?
Yes.
So basically, it works on, it's not the airlines that are just pumping up the prices because they know that there's less capacity available. The problem with the the whole system is that it's based on the capacity available.
Yeah.
So if Safair had more capacity, the prices would have stayed down lower for longer. So when you start off and you want to buy a ticket, you buy it at the lower price point. And then as those seats start getting taken up, there starts being less seats available. So the algorithm there shoots up the price a little bit, and that's the way it is. And we've all dealt with that. I mean, if you wanted a last minute ticket a few years ago, it would also be pricey.
Of course.
So what's happened now is everyone is actually, even though they might not be last minutes in terms of time, they're last minutes in terms of capacity available. Yes. And that's why the tickets are expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I looked at Airlink, there was nothing. I mean, the website was laughing at me. I mean, it didn't even give you options of the previous day, next day. There was nothing.
Well, I think I read on that article of Kirby Gordon's that subsequent to the Comair grounding, their booking schedule got fully booked for the next 2 weeks. It was impossible to find another seat available.
Yeah.
There was also the question that was raised to airlines, well, what about forcing the airlines to fix their prices?
Yeah.
But that's a dangerous thing.
Very dangerous.
I mean, given the fact that there's a war going on in Europe and, you know, oil prices are volatile and now all of a sudden Comair on Saturday wasn't there. Now they are back. You know, what does that do?
Yep.
It's a mixed bag of marbles.
Yeah. So what he says as well is if they fix the prices, for argument's sake, he said 1,000 Rand from Durban to Johannesburg. That takes a lot of people out the market on day one.
Yeah.
Whereas at the moment, I think it's 432 Rand or something ridiculous for those initial tickets from Durban to Joburg. It's very low. So if you're there and you wait and you get yourself on the website at the right time, you could end up with a $400 ticket up to Joburg. But without a multi-price point system, a fixed rate thing, you're done. You're not going to travel.
I just had an idea.
What, do you want to start an airline?
No. How's this for a plan? I mean, I don't know if this is because of a bit of a Jamison wisdom, but you could actually almost, it's a bit like gambling.
Yeah.
Huh? You know, you should have like an airline casino thing going, like a Russian roulette.
To actually take a chance.
It's quite fun.
Yeah, but you could get hit with a 432 Rand ticket. You could be hit with a 6,000 Rand ticket.
It's insane. It's exactly what it's become, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
However, the ticket prices have actually not gone up. It's just they're using the same model.
Yeah.
It's the same model. However, with the oil prices going up in Nigeria, even now, I think what was it, 300%?
300%. It's crippling airlines in Nigeria.
So, are you going to be? Ticket prices are going to go up, and it's not because of the fact that Comair is not operational. It's because of the fact that to get you there costs a hell of a lot more money.
Exactly.
But even if you go into those 432 Rand tickets that Safair sell, that is below the operational cost that the airline is trying to get back. I mean, there's no ways that they're making money on that ticket.
Of course.
So they guarantee themselves a loss on certain tickets, and that's the pricing model they work with.
Yeah.
We know already in aviation the margins are incredibly small.
Yeah.
And so
no, look, it is what it is. I mean, I suppose it's just with everything in the world at the moment. There's things that we have to swallow. Janet Klitzer makes a good point here as well. People are also forgetting it's a long weekend this weekend, and public schools are breaking up, so the ticket prices have increased. I'd almost forgotten about it. It's school holidays again.
Yeah, look, it was the August last weekend.
Yeah,
it's school holidays. It's the first long weekend of the year.
Yes,
this weekend.
Yeah,
so it was in this real, bumper period.
Yeah, building up to
which
April as well, which is full of long weekends.
The captain skeptical in me came out when I saw they were grounded on that Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was my initial knee-jerk reaction as well.
How do you correct for something in 24 hours? If it's an issue
on a weekend,
so who, as far as if you look at what Comair did, of course they would have submitted the requirements straight away. There's no question.
Yeah.
Even with us at SA Express, we did the same thing.
Yeah.
Not me personally, but I know the people in the office. We know for a fact that the rectifications were made straight away.
Yeah.
However, you're not put in the air straight away. So there's this period of sort of waiting. So to ground someone for 24 hours. So you've got passengers sitting there phoning the airline saying, so what, am I flying in 24 hours now? The airline saying, well, we can't guarantee that. They don't know what to do with their crew. They don't know what to do with their passengers.
No, look, man, it was unfair. What do you say? We've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. We know what it feels like to be on the other side of the fence as crew. People working for the airline.
That was one of the worst feelings I've ever had. Was before I was even told about it from my employer. I was reading Fear 24, and it said there that
you
SA
knew
Express
this was coming.
Has been grounded and for something and for their quality system or whatever. Something stupid. And then you're in this sort of state of absolute, what the hell am I going to do?
Yeah, look, I think there's that initial like, oh, cool, my double George tomorrow has been cancelled.
Yeah. Then it becomes, if you need me to do a quadruple George, I'm more than happy to do it if you want.
Exactly.
Because you start trying to jump on the bandwagon. What can I do to help?
It's mad, man.
It's madness.
Such a roller coaster of emotions for all involved.
Yeah.
Because you go from, it's been a weird period for us in South Africa lately. We hit by Omicron in December or November, December, and then January sort of come out of this period. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, I can certainly vouch, industry-wide, there's been this massive acceleration in travel, in business, and everything. Everything's just gone back to normal in the sense of business.
Well, there's actually
rapidly
there's an attempt for South Africa to come out of the state of disaster.
Yes, we're trying really
so the first draft of this thing has been released. Did you read it? So I got this in Business Insider. Under the new rules, self-isolation will be available to those who either have access to online shopping with contactless delivery, or who can show they have the support of friends and family who may facilitate the drop-off of food and medicine at the gate. They must also have access to the internet and a phone that allows daily reporting of symptoms and a private doctor to call on. They must also live alone or in a home with a well-ventilated bedroom that features an ensuite bathroom. International travelers who enter South Africa will continue to be screened for COVID-19 symptoms and can avoid being put into a state isolation facility by showing they have access to such facilities, by submitting documents 72 hours before their arrival at South Africa borders. First draft. Comments, please. So do you have an ensuite bathroom at your place?
I actually do.
So you can
I live in a mansion.
You can travel. You would think in South Africa that the first draft would be a little bit more accommodating.
Listen, speaking about the arrival in South Africa, can we go here quickly? Because
before you go somewhere else.
There was an article doing it around about 3 days ago, where I think it was on Monday afternoon. So a 777 from Dubai arrives, an A380 from London, a 787 from Kenya, a 777 from Qatar. I don't know. There's 5 long-haul areas that arrive in Joburg all at the same time. So there's about 1,200 people that rock up international arrivals.
Yeah,
pretty much at the same time.
Yep.
One person at customs.
Yep. I fetched a colleague from the airport on Monday morning. She landed at Air France flight, and I literally waited there for an hour and a half before she got to the baggage claim. So it's nuts.
Yeah,
but
unfortunately,
what do you do about it?
Yeah, look, as hard as the country and the industry is driving at a recovery, there are elements in the system that are letting us down.
Yep.
And hopefully AXA get the message and do something about that very soon.
Hasn't there been someone that has been voicing he's trying to make like a new AXA?
Yeah, there's the same numpty that's been advertising. I think it's called South African Springbok Flying Airways. I don't know. It's got about 72 names. On the list.
Yeah.
It's virtual. Oh, and it's supposed to be Russian airplanes.
And they're going to fly the Russian aircraft.
That's right.
That's it.
Now, this same person is allegedly starting up a new airports company of South Africa. It's probably called South African Springbok Flying Airports Company of South Africa. Who knows what? But yeah, maybe they are in the background to solve the problems.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Who knows?
Yeah, the airport. When I was there, it is quite nice to go back there, obviously, because we used to, being around, and you used to walking through there so often, and then suddenly you're not walking through there. You get like sort of a bit left behind. But this one, I walked through. The airport was busy. The shops were open. There was a nice sort of vibe around there, and I think we've entered this sort of phase where one hopes that we are sort of pushing forward into a new era. And look, Ryan, there's one thing we can't get away from. We are South Africa. South Africans, we like to travel. Everyone around the world likes to travel. There's some news we're going to get into a little bit later about dropping mask mandates and things like that on airplanes. There's a definite change that's happening. There's a definite new phase of aviation that we entering, or travel that we're entering. It's inevitable that it's coming, and we need a bit of clarity from not only our government but the governments around the world to kind of commit to something. We've seen it now in the UK. They came across and they said we're dropping masks on everything, but on BA travel, no masks. Virgin came along and they said we'll make a recall 24 hours later, and we'll agree to that same no mask system. Okay, but then this morning it's like, okay, wait, that's delayed. So we're back to the same thing again, where it's like, well, where do we stand here? The States, they were expecting to drop the whole masks thing. We're talking about masks. It's a big thing.
It's heavy.
It's a heavy thing. People don't want to travel with this. It's like people just want to go back to this sort of
the masks are inhibiting, and they are shit. I hate wearing a mask.
I hate it. I'm probably one of the worst mask wearers around.
I think I've still got my flimsy flannel from the beginning. I don't think I've changed it.
There's a good possible chance that my mask contains COVID-22 or something there, because it's been used for 3 years. It's something that is worth a conversation, because you follow the stories, and little things like that are little victories along the way. They're little victories for the passenger.
Yeah.
I mean, my father-in-law was due to travel to Abu Dhabi the other day, and you look at it. Not Abu Dhabi, sorry. He was on Qatar.
Yeah,
and the whole thing with you must wear a mask and a face screen came out. It's like where did this come from?
Yeah. So for 10 hours on an airplane, you must wear a mask and a face screen.
Yeah, look, that got ditched pretty soon. But this instability around it is crazy. It's just there needs to be this a firm agreement around the world. But they can't agree on anything. They can't agree to sanction Russia. They can't agree. It's
no.
freaking nightmare.
It is.
They're all bloody useless.
Yeah. That's hectic, man.
Bryan Air got accused of jacking up prices, right?
Really?
Yeah. And they got accused of jacking up prices on flights for refugees from the Ukraine. So that's not the best one to be nailed for. But
I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's going on and on.
Oh, jeez.
Look, there's quite a bit of other news.
There is.
Want to talk about it?
So there was this article doing the rounds. Well, where are we now? We're talking about South African news. We're going to stick with.
Okay, well, let's stick with Africa at the moment. A lot of people commenting here, actually. Thanks for your comments.
Yeah, the engagement this afternoon is insane.
So helps not doing it in the middle of the day. Thanks, Eskom. FastJet will be flying between Kruger and Vic Falls. That's an exciting new route for them.
Well, yes, I believe they wanted to start that before COVID, and the plans were there, but. Obviously, now that this thing is starting to die down a bit, they're kicking up again. So, lots of positive news around the regional carriers like FastJet, FedAir. Things are picking up again.
Yep.
For Southern Africa,
things are looking good. Discovery. I don't know how well planned this was, but Vitality has always been through Comair. So if you wanted to use your Vitality points, you had to grab yourself a
Comair
ticket. And they've sort of opened up now. So Lift, Airline, FlySafair and Airlink, you can use your vitality status to get yourself a ticket. So 10% no matter what your vitality level discount.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Comair are going to be put on that list pretty soon.
no doubt.
And so basically all the airlines in South Africa, you can use your Discovery vitality status to get yourself a cheaper ticket.
Yeah.
With prices going up, obviously they are going to go up with the fuel. That's worth it.
Yeah, it's a clever move from Discovery, because there's going to be, people have got even more reason now to do their 10,000 steps a day.
Not you though.
Not me, no. I don't get a chance to do 10,000 steps.
Yep. Pricing though, yeah, I saw this on LinkedIn this morning. Mauritius sale alert: while stocks last, book one-way flights to and from Mauritius for only 2,200 rand.
Seriously.
Yeah, from 12th to 22nd of March. So that includes 20 kilos of luggage. Don't delay. Book on www.flysafair.co.za.
So, is there a podcast in Mauritius coming sometime?
Yeah, I hope so.
We are equipped for remote podcasts. So
We really have.
I really wouldn't mind doing a podcast from Mauritius. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah. Well, we stuck to our little room here at Samira at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be nice. It's good to see Safair are expanding.
Yes.
But then also, when they talk about capacity. So basically, if you read Kirby Gordon's article that we gone through, it's all about capacity. So doesn't it make sense for them to expand? And will they expand? I mean, will they just snap up the Comair operation? I mean, it's the same aircraft.
I think the intentions are there. I mean, you can't tell me that FlySafair as a whole isn't bursting at the seams to want to expand.
Yeah.
Obviously
it's a large number, 40%. I wasn't quite that sort of caught me by surprise, particularly now. Before I would have said no problem, but now I didn't quite realize that 40% of the capacity got taken out the market for that weekend.
I was surprised as well when I saw the messages coming out about Comair, for instance. Comair are adding on extra flights, and you started looking at the routes that they were adding on to Cape Town, to George, to Durban. This is now available, and I was like, wow, how does Comair all of a sudden have that extra capacity? They were obviously, Comair is a major threat. They obviously really are a big part of the country's capacity. So I suppose it takes an event like this to make you realize, what a massive gap in the market they would leave.
Yeah, it's huge. It's not only the gap. Tommy Rotenbach is their fleet captain. He sat here and there was so much vibe about Comair.
Yeah.
We got to support them. We're going to support them. We don't believe they should have been shut down.
Yeah.
We're on their side. We're on their pilot side. We're on their,
Which is why you and I think, felt so hurt by this when we saw that they got grounded.
Yeah, I was pissed off, to be honest.
Mega. I mean, because I got a lot of good friends that operate there and quality guys. And I was just like, shucks, man, how much more can this group of individuals take?
Yeah.
Not fair.
Easy.
Not fair at all.
But let's venture out of South Africa a bit. There's a bit to talk about. Have you been following? I'm sure you have, what's happening in Ukraine. Everyone is.
Yeah.
If you look at the aviation angle there, particularly to do with aircraft leasing companies. Now, Putin has gone and he's changed the laws surrounding leased aircraft.
Yeah.
So aircraft that are in Russia now, that are leased in, and there's quite a few of them, 515 jets actually are leased in from companies in Europe, a lot of them from Ireland and around the rest of the world. They are being registered as we speak as Russian aircraft, meaning those aircraft will probably never fly commercially around the world ever again, because he's trying to keep the air travel going and he's trying to keep the whole transportation network going. So yeah, it's a really, really bold move. And those people that these leasing companies are what do they have? What can they do?
But what is he achieving by doing that? It's all fair and well. Okay, take those leased aircraft, slap a new lick of paint on, and register them as Russian.
It's $10 billion worth of equipment that is in leased, that is now sort of been.
But what difference does it make? What difference does it make to the serviceability of the airplane, the airworthiness of the aircraft itself? Now all of a sudden it's got a Russian registration,
Well,
so it can't fly anywhere else in the world.
well, can it? Because
I don't know.
someone posted on LinkedIn as well, said, maybe something the leasing companies will learn after this, that currently little chips that are available on hired cars. So they can remotely disable a hired car. If someone nicks a hired car, they can actually turn it off and you can't actually start that car.
That reminds me, I actually want to get to that a little bit later because we're seeing that in South Africa anyway.
Well, this is the thing with aircraft now.
Yeah.
So those aircraft that are there, there's nothing to stop them actually flying those aircraft. So, yeah, Airbus is not going to support them. Boeing's not going to support them. But they've got engineers there and they've got people that can fix those things to a point. So they are going to operate. And that's why those aircraft will never be brought back into the global aviation system again.
Yeah, it's just it's uncanny. I mean, what are they proving? Because they're not allowed to fly anywhere else in the world, so they're going to fly locally around Russia.
It's a big country though.
No, it's massive,
and they need resources available. So,
yeah,
it's a big thing.
I saw on the news as well they're reactivating some of their own prototypes, the Illusion 96 or something like that. But I mean,
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah,
I think they're scrambling. They've just screwed themselves a whole lot, in my opinion. But anyway,
the aviation angle to watch with the whole thing is just so interesting, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, the fuel prices and what's going on, and the media involvement. There's a lot of skepticism about what we're seeing in the media. What the ghost of Kiev and that, but was that fighter pilot, he or she, actually real? And did they shoot down those Russian aircraft? And is the war in favor of one side or the other? And media plays such a massive role
added to
in
that.
our lives.
I mean, I think we've seen how things have been so hyped up and over inflated around the Comair story. You actually, it makes you wonder now that you mention that, like, how much of what we're watching on the news about Russia and Ukraine is actually true. What can you believe anymore?
You're watching a series on the if you watch a CNN, you're watching it from a particular angle, and the story's never going to change.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's quite frightening with the whole thing. That's why independent podcasts like Bryan Air offer such an important angle on the information you get.
Yeah.
Everyone's engaging with us really nicely today. I really thank everyone for that. Yeah, been very, very cool. Our good mate over here, Jason Northwood, Go Aviate. Evening, guys. He says, my father-in-law, he's overseas at the moment in Italy. Afternoon, gentlemen. And I'm playing with a new machine this afternoon, so I've got a stream deck here, so I'm able to actually post on the go, which is pretty cool. So if you're wondering why my name is coming up or our name is coming up in various posts, that's why that's there.
Yeah.
So pretty neat. And but I've got an advisory this week, Ryan, that sort of tugged at the heartstrings a bit for me, and I know it did for you.
Yes.
And my advisory this week is from a good mate of both of ours that we worked with for quite a while, and a guy that's sort of really done his best to make the most of the situation that has been thrown upon him. And you and I have been quite fortunate in the position that we landed. We were able to pick up a decent job pretty soon after all the chaos ensued, and we've run with this podcast, and we've had a reason for being around. And that's not true for everyone. Some guys have really battled, and you hear this quite a lot, that people miss doing things that they are good at. You get these guys, they're born, they're aviators, and if they're not flying an airplane, they're not being used to their full potential.
Yeah.
And Mark Mason posted something really cool the other day, and I'm sure you've read it. It was titled, "How is this going to end?"
Yeah.
And he posted it on LinkedIn. I'm going to leave on Facebook. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. That is my Bryan Air advisory for this week, to read Mark's post, because I think it really encapsulates what so many people in the aviation and the travel sector and also other sectors that have been affected during the pandemic are feeling right now or have felt. And how is this going to end? You're almost looking at this situation and going, but surely it has to end sometime. It has to end now. And I think, that elastic has been pulled so tight that we sort of waiting for this watershed moment to say, right, we're back to normal. And I'm not so sure that's going to happen, but there has to be some form of breakthrough where we realize that, okay, we can breathe again, there's jobs available, and off we go. So Mark wrote this thing. It's a fantastic article. Take you a couple of minutes to read it. He's a great guy. He's been an absolute legend to us. He's supported you and I thoroughly, and he's a strong, tough guy, and his support to us had a massive role because he said, guys, I like your stuff. Please carry on doing what you're doing, push through, and he gave us support. And I want to give him support as well. He's read that article. Mark should be writing articles. He's excellent at writing articles.
100%, Brian. I mean, I couldn't agree more. When I read that, I think it was one of the first articles that Mike has written where I wanted to reply and comment and share and say something to Mike, but I was lost for words because his article was so sincere and from the heart, and like I actually didn't know what to say. I just thought to myself, there's nothing that I can say to Mike right now that would make it better because I think we've all been walking this same path together, and we've been propping each other up and fighting this thing the same kind of way. But all I can say is Mike, you've been such an inspiration. You've been a pillar. You are strong, man, and you just got to keep fighting, keep going, and it's inspirational. And keep writing. Absolutely. I wish I could write as well as you and articulate some things.
And he gets the coverage with his writing too.
Of course.
People read it and they say, I mean, I shared it on all my platforms because I thought this is like a valuable piece of writing.
100%.
He's really good with that.
Yeah.
He's working closely at the moment. He got involved in sort of mountain biking and with the kids mountain bike club, and he talks about it in this article, so I don't want to give it away.
Listen, there's nothing that Mike hasn't tried. He's the epitome of a guy who's gone out there and actually he's hitting it at all angles, whatever he can choose.
But he's sort of made a thing of it, and he ended up buying the mountain bike club
and the gym.
So it's like he's one of those guys. So he adds a lot of value. People commenting here as well. Awesome. Bryan Advisory, 100% agree. Mark, legend, keep going, pal. That's from Jason. Dave Sterling says, top read that from Mark. So everyone, adding their bit of input there. Legend, read it. He's our advisory. We love Mark. Couldn't have done this without him. And what's left for us next week? We got hopefully still. I don't want to overly commit. I haven't checked with him yet, confirmed. But John Howell's supposed to be on the show.
Yeah,
Cameron Easton was supposed to be on the show today.
Yes,
and I said to Cam, listen, all this stuff with Comair is going on, and I don't want to rope you into walking a fine line on the fence like you and I've had to do with the CIA and the Comair story. It's a difficult one for us. We support the pilots.
100%.
100%. We support the pilots. So we see it from the pilot's angle, or I suppose the crew's angle.
Yeah.
So we're always going to back you, even if you're wrong. But in this case, I don't think you were.
Exactly. No, I'm looking forward to having John Howell next week as well, and Cam Easton. I was thrilled to have Cam. We've been trying to get Cam on the show for a couple of well over a year now.
Also a big supporter.
Massive, and but we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. John Howell at the moment is touring East Africa for the first time in I don't know how many years.
Well, he's probably heard this now.
Thrilled about this.
Yeah.
And John, get yourself ready for next week.
Yeah.
We want to hear about your trip.
Hopefully John's there. If he's not, well, we'll plan it another time. But Ryan, as always, it's an absolute pleasure being with you, pal.
Yeah, but look, it's been a great day. Two things quickly.
Go.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
It's St. Patrick's Day. Yeah.
And don't forget, guys, as the Grand Prix starts this weekend.
Come on, Max.
Yeah, and Lewis Hamilton changing his name. I don't know what you think about that, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting week.
I see our mate Gerald Keegs,
Our resident,
Keegs is watching.
Our resident Lewis LH44 supporter.
Yeah, there's got to be one at least.
Yeah,
but looking forward to the Formula One. I won't lie to you. Did
you
watch the latest Drive to Survive?
But I've been addicted to that like you won't believe.
I watched the whole thing in a couple of days.
I can't wait. It's got me amped for this weekend, and you're very excited for the Formula One.
Yeah, I love the one comment there by Will Buxton, I think his name is. He says, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are totally polar opposite drivers. Lewis Hamilton is a very clean driver.
Yeah,
and it's like, tell us what you really think. But looking forward to that. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Go and have a few Jamesons tonight or a couple of Guinness. And I was very jealous of Duncan Gillespie's pictures the last couple of days. He's in Ireland, obviously.
He's touring Ireland, and I saw him drinking downing a Guinness.
If you're a sort of foodie connoisseur, or you like your fine wine or drink, or
follow Duncan.
He's always got something good on the go.
Yeah.
It was awesome to chat tonight. It wasn't an easy topic to chat about, but thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Can't wait, pal.
Cheers, everyone.
Best fun ever. Cheers.
For now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.